Welcome to Self-Publishing with ALLi from the Alliance of Independent Authors. This week it's our production and distribution stream focusing on guiding indie authors through the many pathways to create, publish, and distribute their work. We'll explore strategies, weigh the pros and cons of different models, and help you find the best fit for your publishing journey. This Self-Publishing with ALLi podcast is sponsored by BookVault. Sell high-quality print-on-demand books directly to readers worldwide and earn maximum royalties selling directly. Automate fulfillment and create stunning special editions with BookVault Bespoke. Visit bookvault.app today for an instant quote. This podcast is also sponsored by Gatekeeper Press, the all-inclusive gold standard in publishing, offering authors 100% rights, royalties, satisfaction, and worldwide distribution. Gatekeeper Press, where authors are family. And here's your host for the Self-Publishing with ALLi podcast, Anna Featherstone.
Welcome, writers, and hello to wherever you are on this gorgeous planet we call home. I'm Anna Featherstone, author, mentor, and ALLi's nonfiction advisor. I'm speaking with you today from the east coast of Australia on the unceded lands of the remarkable original storytellers of this place, the Burpai people. Today, we're going a little retro, a little future, a little creative, and are going to be talking about how authors can produce and distribute zines and why you might choose to do that as part of your author business. I was inspired to record this episode when I downloaded a zine recently. It was produced by Rebekah Lambert, the founder of Freelance Jungle. Freelance Jungle is a grassroots community of close to 7,000 Australian and New Zealand freelancers. But don't feel left out up there in the Northern Hemisphere. I'm sure there's groups like this up there for you. Now, some but not all of the freelancers are writers. So there's a whole spectrum of freelancers out there supporting every industry and specialty you could imagine. And Rebekah is their champion. So Rebekah, welcome to the ALLi Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Oh, it's so great. So you're a poet, a playwright, a freelancer, a freelance advocate, a content writer, a strategist and business coach, and a zine maker. Did I leave anything out?
Community manager, but then you've got it all.
Wait, and don't you also rehab an old dog in a pool?
Yeah. I've got a 16, well, he's almost 16 and a half. He's a Labrador. We say that he's well out of warranty. So there's a lot of animal care that goes into keeping him happy, as you can imagine.
You literally put a life vest on him, don't you, and put him in a pool?
Yeah, totally. He goes here first, swims at Waterworkies here in Wollongong, which is a hydrotherapy pool specifically for dogs.
Oh, my goodness. So all the dog lovers out there, get your dogs to hydrotherapy pools. It's so adorable. Okay, so let's talk zines. So how would you describe what a zine is?
I think the best way to describe it is a quote that I actually read in a book called Notes from the Underground, which is, a zine is a love letter to the author's obsession.
Oh.
And the interesting thing about zines, you can have political zines, you can have fan zines, you can do it about a particular band, you can do it about, there was a guy that had a very successful zine in the 90s where he talked about where he washed dishes at all these low-paying jobs as he travelled around America as a dish pig. You can do it for politics. There's a lot of it is, scene related. There's a lot of queer zines. There's a lot of kink related zines, all these sorts of different zines that you can have out there, zines, which are personal stories. And what they are is literally people that are just getting there with what they care about, jumbling it together, mixing it with art, mixing it with writing, and just delivering it in this beautiful, pure format with mostly minimal editing.
Yeah, and they're perfect for self-publishing.
Absolutely.
That's who our audience is today, people who are indie authors. Zines are like inexpensive mostly to produce. And I noticed with yours, you use some original and some appropriated sources. Tell us about that.
It's actually quite common to do that in zine culture, especially in the 90s and the noughties zine culture, because it was like a collage to love. it was a collage of like, if you really liked the Sex Pistols and you had a Sex Pistols zines, of course you were going to put out someone else's magazine photos in them. And then you were going to add your lens on their lyrics or whatever the situation was. And the same thing continues. So it's taking all of those things and putting it in that mix of love in such a way that it references your obsession and it references how it ties into what you're creating, what you're feeling, what you're experiencing. And I think at this particular point in time, considering the culture that we live in and the things that are going along with us on a political level, on a work level, economic level, and all this sort of stuff, it gives us an opportunity to actually self-reference in a safe way without having to worry about, you know, all of the restrictions that we might have around plagiarism and AI and all the rest of it. This is kind of shoving that in a different direction and giving it a chance to actually be a place of love rather than a place of mining and extraction.
Okay, and that place of love, so creating it yourself as well as using other things, so it can include art and writing and photography and poetry and opinion pieces, basically anything and any way the creator wants to share.
Absolutely. Like with my stuff, I made a central decision to basically say, okay, I want to have a go at a few things that are really irritating me at the moment. I want to have a go at some of the, you know, the inflation crisis. I want to have a go at shitty clients when they're at their worst. I want to have a go at the $6 million let's all be freelancers when I know that it only reflects a very small percentage of people and what they want to do, highfalutin, high cash lifestyle. So to do that, I originally started off with an essay, which I actually cut up and put into segments right across the zine. So it was the only continuous narrative. Then took all the memes that I'd saved for my online community, took all of the things that I'd read and could quote. I have a thing called the Dollhouse Theatre, which is like a bunch of dolls that critique freelancing in a photographic way on Instagram that I haven't done much work on it. So I thought I'll inspire myself to do that again. So I put some doll art in there on the front cover and on one of the pages where it's like, you know, about the sales funnel and all this sort of stuff. And it's about bringing all of those things together to actually support what you're talking about as you go through it.
And okay, so can you remember the first time you saw a zine?
Probably not. Probably because I think the first sort of inklings of it are often underground things that we do. So I was in a lot of underground art and stuff and scenes like that when I was much, much younger. I hung out with skaters. There was a lot of graffiti art. We used to run around the streets putting paste ups illegally. Did I just admit that online? Oh, shit.
Statute of limitations, I think. That was back when you were a child. You're fine.
Yeah, exactly. So it's this whole thing of like zines were a cheap and easy way to get your word out about your band. It was a cheap and easy way to get a word out about the collective you might have started that was, you know, squatting somewhere off Broadway and watching films on Super 8. You'd put out a zine to talk about things. Zines are very much in the skater stuff where it's all this combination of music and writing and fashion and, you know, skating culture and surfing culture all glued together on pieces of paper. So I'd say the first introduction probably was some cheap ass uni thing up on the Gold Coast where we were all drinking goon and making zines to promote our little creative things because we thought we were amazing as first year creative arts students.
Yeah, right. I think my first zine that I saw, I was speaking at an environmental gathering. And I was talking about one of my first books. And that was the first time I'd actually seen a zine. So there were people who had photocopied these gorgeous little booklets on all, you know, and I was like, oh my gosh, you know, this is a beautiful form of creativity. Each was so unique. But yeah, obviously I wasn't drinking goon up on the Gold Coast. So I had to get my fix at an environmental thing. But okay, so when did you actually make your first zine?
I couldn't honestly tell you. And I think it also comes across as like, you know, how do you qualify what a zine is? I mean, you can do a 2-page thing and call that a zine. You can do a 20-page thing and call that a zine. But one thing that I did actually do at 2 different junctures is I had a very short-lived Gothic publication in the mid 90s in King's Cross that investigated the lifestyle of the goth and the clothing that we wore and the music that we listened to and the things that we did and the things that we cared about on a political level, and put something through on that. And then another time, maybe 15 years ago, I ran a thing online called Discordia Zine, which was an online version of bringing up women's stories that maybe weren't going to get told by mass media, because I was sick and tired of the dominance of the conversation always being, and I hate to say it, very white woman, single focus parenting. This is the only exclusion that women face in the workplace or in the this or the that. And I wanted to broaden the story and show that, maybe sometimes that's the first time some women have actually intersected with exclusion in a big way. It was when they became a parent. But people that are of colour and people that are queer and people that have disabilities have been facing this since day one, and that there needed to be a wider recognition of that occurring. So those sorts of things. And returning to it with the Freelance Jungle this year was simply because we've had a defragmentation of social media. We've had AI infiltrate everything that we use in terms of social media and search against our will. I am fine with AI tools when we pick and choose what we want to use, but when they are deeply embedded and we are forced to use them, I have an issue with that. And so this was my opportunity to sort of say, I don't want to give you fuckers any more content. I want to bypass this system, and I want to make something that reminds people that even if only 6% of people are now seeing your content online, which is the latest statistic from Facebook, only 6% of your followers actually see your content. It's randoms. And even if you're feeling like you don't feel safe to put your content out there anymore because you're worried that it's actually just going to end up in an AI machine later on, that there are alternatives, and you can still get the message out to people, and you can still create, and you can still have conversations that are meaningful, productive, and worthwhile, and advocate for things that you care about without having to rely on online tools.
Okay, so when your zine popped into my mailbox, or the opportunity to download it, I looked at it and I was like, this isn't something I'm just going to scroll through I thought I'm going to have to set aside time to look at it. So it kind of stopped me in my tracks. And I think I said to you, it was like slow food in zine form. I actually wanted to take my time with it. And it did, and it slowed me down rather than me consuming content at a bullet pace. So it made me think, it made me laugh out loud. And also I enjoyed it because it wasn't just normal text. I read so many books and everything. And the way you put it together, there was just so much happening on each page, and you had to look at things differently. I said it was less of the same old and more like a starburst, whoa, okay, where's she going now? And one of the quotes that made me laugh was, pick your battles. And then you say, no, that's too many battles. Put some battles back. And I just thought there was just so many funny things and different ways of looking at things. So I want to know about your latest scene battle or victory lap. So what did it involve production-wise, and what tools and skills did you use to create it?
I've been very lucky to work with a very talented designer called Jessica Harkins for a very long time on the Freelance Jungle. And the art that she's created and the memes and the wonderful little bits of whimsy that she has, we have a little set of monkeys that dance around the Freelance Jungle, and it's all very green and it's all very fun and happy, because I wanted people to remember the playfulness of freelancing. But when we did the design, I was very specific to Jess, saying, I want this to be able to look good in monochrome as it does in color. I want this to actually have the design principles that are set down in a lot of zines, because we want it to be able to, if we're printing it with a monochrome printer, I want it to look good. If we're doing it with a home color printer at home, I want it to look good, because I recognize that when I was giving out digital stuff via my Patreon or to people that were in the Freelance Jungle, I wanted them to be able to have it on their terms without proper production. And because Jess is a master and she's prolific, I had all of this art that she's created that's been used and hasn't been used and all the rest of it. And so the first thing that I did was I printed all of that art out. I got all my favorite memes, including that battles meme, and I printed them out as well. And then I wrote essays and created little checkboxes and did all sorts of little handwriting stuff and other little doodads and photographs, and then sat it all down in front of me and said, okay, A4 folded in half is A5. That's the size we're going for. It's the easiest way to do this. And I folded out a book, and then I stuck things to it. And then I stuck the pages together.
Scissors and glue.
Yeah, that's one form of zine making. I mean, some people will do it with printmaking tools. Some people will do it and they will make a file and it's far more produced, and they can take it to a printer and that sort of thing. You can use screen printing. You can use all sorts of different mechanisms, but this is an actual format that is used by zine makers. So I sat there and I, like an old school newspaper person, and assembled everything through cut and paste, and then stuck it all together and goes, okay, this makes sense. Scanned it on my color printer and then put it together using just a freebie online PDF tool to reorganize the pages and put it together as a book, none of which costs any money. Right. So this is the other beautiful thing, because I like repurposing. I don't like starting right from scratch. I like that whole idea of taking our resources and reusing them. And it's this whole idea of you can do this even if you don't have a budget. Like when Patreon puts out a zine, it's been beautifully styled and it's got an infographic and it's all lovely and wonderful, and it probably cost them a bomb, and that's great. But not all of us have that budget. Some of us really want to say, you know, hands off my local environmental area, or here's some women's reproductive rights because Trump is saying awful things, or whatever. And you too can sit there and go cut, paste, glue it together on a A4 piece of paper that you folded in half, turn it into a booklet, scan it, and get it the hell out to people as a PDF or as a printed item that you can just fold with a bunch of friends and either tie with a string or staple and give it out to people, because that's what they're designed to do. They're meant to be a people's form of press.
Yeah. And so it can be given away. So it can be in print form, or it can be like a PDF like you do, or it can be both. I almost see you like you're the hostage taker writing a ransom note, you know, and you cut out the little letters from the newspaper to for people to visually see so people cut and paste things from magazines and all sorts of things to get the font they want and the text and so not that I think that you're going to take hostages, but I can just see that. I can just see a very creative ransom note. Okay, so for fiction writers, I can see the creation of zines as a great way to experiment with character and themes and storytelling. People can use zines and do for prequels, behind the scenes content, character journals and more. And then for nonfiction writers like me, I think they offer a really creative way to explore your material further. And then when your zine popped in, it really did open my mind to think just the design and the attitude behind the zine genre could influence people to actually amp up their book design too. To look at creating a more electric type of book rather than just same old. It's well, how do you bring that attitude to life that you actually feel? Rather than just writing another vanilla book. So these are some of the things that your zine did to me. And then I've heard of some authors using zines to test audience reactions to their content to see, someone really liked that page in the zine compared to this other message. So it helps them refine what they might do. And then on the business side, they can, even though they're underground and meant to be free and cheap, some people could use them to be limited edition collectibles.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. So it gives authors another way to look at their author business. So it could be a marketing tool or an income producing tool. You could use them as teaser content, and to really, I don't really have that art gene right now, but I can see how it can really build that niche aesthetic. If you really know your topic and everything, like to build something instead of just like a cookie cutter Instagram, basically. It seems to just give so much more freedom to the writer.
Absolutely. I mean, this is your version of a non-curated behind the scenes, and it can be your brain. It can be how your characters live. If you've got, I don't know, a dude that runs the town newspaper who is across all the gossip as one of your characters, why not make his newspaper and put it out in real life? This is your opportunity to be like so many artists are, where when you do an artwork, you might have a visual arts process diary and you start thinking about the mood that you want to create and the things that you want to include. You'll put these things on a mood board and start creating things. You'll start critiquing these sorts of things. These are all really powerful ways to do things. Journaling is another one. Like if you have a look at the Kurt Cobain journals that were published, there are sketches, there are lyrics, there are crossed out lines, there are this, that, and the other. This is another form of it. And the beautiful thing that I like about it is in old-fashioned books, they didn't have the ability to take the words. If they were writing by hand and they made a mistake, you know what they did? They made an art letter to go over the top of it. They made an illustration. They stuck it there randomly in the middle of the page. This is why books are the way that they are in the older days. A zine is very much like that because you don't have that eraser button that you have when you're working with a computer. You have that freedom to be as vulnerable as you need to be. One of the beautiful things about it is it doesn't have to be released if you don't want it to be released. This is additional content that you're creating. This is an exploration. This is your mood board. This is your way of getting to know that newspaper hound that lives in your murder mystery town. And you can pull that all together. And then at the end of the day, if it works for you, just put it out. And it doesn't really matter if the audience likes it or not. You've put out this extra layer and you've had a deeper exploration. And I think that that's a really important thing to note because, to be frank, a lot of people these days live in the shallows with their creativity because they are trying to be prolific instead of taking it slow, thinking it through and putting it out there when it's kind of cooked and ready and wonderful. And I think this is one opportunity where you can kind of satiate the desire to dig deep and play at the same time as kind of creating that bonus content, but it doesn't have to be if it doesn't end up that way, so it's not as restricted by that idea. And that creates a beautiful tension that you just don't get if you're going to write a blog about your book. You just don't get if you're going to review someone's latest offering. You know, this is fanfic, but a different level for your own shit. And that's really cool.
I think it is really cool. It kind of gives me tingles, actually. It makes me like it is kind of that spark to, again, to like, you know, give yourself permission to be creative. Give yourself permission to really say what you think. Give yourself permission to have a go. Oh, I'm just thinking about what I might do next. Thinking. Okay, so we've created this thing. We've had a lot of fun and a lot of stuff with it, but we've still got to get it in front of readers. So how did you distribute your most recent one?
Mine was really easy. I have a Patreon. I was well overdue for giving those lovely people that support me a reward. And I originally started it thinking, I'll get this done in like 2 weeks and it'll be amazing. And it took me 3 months, which is what happens. But it was a mindful process and an art love. And then I released it out onto the Patreon. I think that's a healthy thing to do. I think if you've got pre-existing audiences, you can do that. But a lot of people, when they're distributing their zines, it's on street level. So you might find that you're giving them out at bookshops, you know, cafes. You can print them out, take them around and do whatever with them. If you have a launch, opening, a writers group that's discussing your book, then these are the places that you might be able to take them. The other places are, you know, there's actual zine fests, fairs and gatherings where people get together. You can take your zine along, or you can take it not even finished yet and work alongside other people and learn from what they're doing. And it's actually a really quite a lovely, supportive, if not a bit kooky, group of people where, you know, you might be talking to someone who's into sci-fi 1 minute, fighting against transphobia the next, and then someone who's teaching you how to grow mushrooms out of a shoe. I mean, there's kind of some kind of loveliness that happens there. And also the other thing is too, you can build a mailing list and mail them out to people. You can send them out by a PDF if you've got a newsletter list. You can send them out to zine reviewers or to people that actually review things and get them out that way. So there's so many different ways across offline and online that you can get them distributed. I just think think about the people that would appreciate it. Think about the networks that they have and send it out there, but make it special. You know, don't try to charge any money for it. It's not going to be a money-making item. It is part of your marketing. It is part of your exploration, and give it as a thing of love.
I have seen, though, that you can sell them as well. And for some people, it's important for them to recover their costs for even the printing. So I've seen some people at markets just sitting on a picnic blanket with like a whole different lot of zines just sitting in front of them. So you could just, come and buy or donate for. I thought that was actually quite beautiful. It was like a zine picnic.
This book, which is like the seminal Bible of all things, zine, which is called Notes from the Underground, and it's the Zines and Political Alternative Culture by Stephen Duncombe.
There you go. People can look that one up.
He talks about people's never-ending hope that they will monetize their zines and the fact that no one's ever achieved it. So
actually, when did he write that book? Because people are on crowdfunding platforms actually.
Admittedly, the latest update was like 2017, but there's never been a sustainable, for 5 years or more, this generated cash. And it's an interesting thing about it because it is such an outliers kind of format. But it does really struggle in that respect to make it. And I'm not saying that it's not possible, but it was really he went straight into depth of how so many people have tried and so many people have fallen foul of it. And it really is something that needs to be thought about before people go and do a zine, because there's also other people that have spent, 40, 30 hours a week trying to get their zine to work, and it just doesn't happen.
So you're saying like just as something that you do as part of the other things that you do, it might be interesting to try if it suits that person.
Yeah, absolutely.
But don't go in thinking it's going to make you a lot of money.
Yeah, if you're thinking this is another revenue stream for your writer's bow, I would really caution against that kind of thinking from the research that's been done by other people. Same as Joe Beal, who is from Microsoft Publishing. They've written several books about zine publishing and the importance of zine publishing. And whilst Joe always stresses profitability in all of his books about creativity, again has outlined that the struggles that are within it and the very small percentage of people that actually find zines a meaningful part of their revenue.
Yeah. I see it like, for me, like thinking if I do something with it, just like it would be meaningful for me creatively.
Absolutely.
Like that's where I think for me it would work, and thinking differently about, how do I bring that information or make it more interesting to people? So like I said, I mean, I really did stop and savor your zine. And I can see how it does, like if it's done well, it can build that deeper connection between an author and a reader. Or in a subject. So why do you think zines have that power to do that?
I think it's because it is a highly personalized form of communication. You are literally getting the behind the scenes, I'm going into the brain, I'm going into the art workshop, I'm going into the writer workshop with this person so that they can create things. I think also too, you get to hear the opinions. Like a lot of people that are in the public, for various different things, especially if you're in advocacy and stuff like that, you have to pick and choose which battles you can be very vocal about and pick and choose which ones that you can really get stuck in on. And this gives you an opportunity to actually have that opinion in a way that it is an art form, and you can explore things that perhaps maybe you can't do in other ways. And I think it's also the ability to explore your own head and celebrate what you want, like This is why mixtapes and listicles and cartoons and art are part of a process, even though we might be writers. That no one is expecting you to be perfect. If anything, don't be perfect. People want you to be a bit smudgy and a little bit broken. It's part of the art form, and that's the beauty of it as well. And I think that's an enduring part for anyone, especially women identified people, I find hung up on perfectionism, and they really hamper themselves with their own creativity a lot. A zine can be a really nice way to actually break the deadlock that you've got with your writing work and give you a safe place to play to come back to the writing work without chewing on that perfectionism way too much and not feeling free from the work. So I think it also allows you to have a little detail that's still connected to your major work, but give you the relief that you need from the pressure that you might be experiencing as you create.
You are always full of wise words. I'm loving that. Everyone, you've just been given permission to not be perfect. I love that. I do. It's like, it is freeing. And I think that's what you're saying, like zines are liberating in that way that it just, yeah, it's, oh, I'm loving this talk. Okay, so what are some tips? Except now I'm thinking, oh gosh, now I'm going to go off down another rabbit hole project and just start creating a zine.
Yay!
What will it say? Okay, so have you any tips for authors who might be thinking of creating their first zine?
Yeah, think about how you can make it a curiosity-making event. So think about something that you're curious about that you would like to explore more, and then sit down with a cup of tea in the sunshine of your garden or a coffee in bed before you have to get up and be obliged to everybody else in the world, and map out what that might look like. And then don't be afraid to play. Think about it in really lo-fi terms. So A4 page folds to an A5. If you don't like the page, you don't have to include it. And think about like one central theme. It doesn't have to be big. It can be, you know, I want this character to explore this, or I know that I'm having trouble talking about grief in this particular character's world. How can I talk about grief in my zine, even away from my character, to get rid of that block, you know? And think about how you want to do it in that way, and then treat it like you would a collage project. Go and have a look and read some articles. Find some pictures that inspire you. Have a look at some book covers or something. You know, if you're struggling with doing your book cover, go and collect all the book covers you like and then write reviews for them in your zine and turn it into that, or cut them into pieces and make the ideal book cover out of what you've created over the series of your zine, or whatever your situation may be. But keep curiosity at the center of what you want to do. And think about how you can make it a playful and curious act that explores your relationship with your creativity, right? And how that flows through your characters or your life as an author, or the topics that you choose to attach yourself to, or the politics of this, you know, the situations that things are in, or the history or the beauty of the art. And treat it like it's a visual arts project in the first instance, before you then go back and write about it, you know, once you've set the mood.
And I suppose the thing is, you can also just write the zine for yourself.
Absolutely.
You don't have to publish it. It can just be a fun project, like you said, to help unblock you or to take things in different directions. Maybe we could have some like zine gatherings instead of like, you know, like writers catching up. It's like people get together and make their zines.
Absolutely. Like, I mean, look,
yeah.
I right up until the week that I decided to share it, I didn't know whether I was going to share it. But I felt the benefit of doing it for myself. And that was the main thing, because every time I went and created a page in my art room for the zine, I came back and I wrote something that I was proud of that was across any different subject, not just Freelance Jungle. And it's that we need to think about, is it may be something that they just find in a box somewhere after you've died and they're looking for that lost novel of yours, you know. Maybe they'll find your zine collection as well. Isn't that a wonderful thing?
Yeah, it is wonderful. I love too, like how you actually created yours with the spine of your essay. And that's a really interesting approach. Like, are there any other approaches that might help people get a zine together?
Yeah, look, it's really interesting because as much as I research this sort of stuff and try and think, is there a central message here? A lot of the time it isn't. It is that obsession. So if you're thinking about something, what are you obsessing about when you're writing? Write a little list of that. What are the things that I need to know? What are the things that I love so much? What am I trying to cram too much of in here? You know what I mean? Like,
what are you really angry about?
What are you really angry about? What are you emotionally triggered about? We have to remember that this is fandom, politics, sex, creativity. It is scene-based, it is personal, it's culture-based, it's literary. It's all of these topics are more or none of these topics. So how you relate to them as an artist, how you relate to your character. I mean, if you were writing the Fast and the Furious 47 and wanted to do a zine that was about some obscure little car, that is okay as well. You know what I mean? So this is your opportunity to really go down a rabbit hole and enjoy it and then benefit from it later. It doesn't have to be for public consumption. It doesn't have to be something for your literary agent. It doesn't have to be to research or inform your art. It can be just, this idea won't go away. I'm going to put it over here and play with it here so that I can get on with the freaking job. This is your playground where you're allowed to set the rules. And then if you have something at the end that you want to share, great. If you have something that you don't want to share, that's great too. It's just meant to be there to help release the pressure.
Yeah, I love that. Did you feel the pressure release once you got it out?
Yeah, I did. And I felt it actually as I was creating it, because I think too, one of the things that's really important to remember, because I was writing I thought was a booklet on change that is now turned into a novella. It's like 22,000 words. And so I was feeling the increasing pressure about this thing based on change and making a change for yourself. And every time, all of the imposter syndrome, the self-doubt, and all of the, oh my goodness, you set yourself a deadline and you're nowhere near it anymore. It's like whizzing past. Every time I felt like that, I just went, go to the art room and play with your zine. And then I'd come out and go, that was wonderful. Because the other thing too, Anna, is it was away from the computer. And as writers, I think sometimes we associate pressure with our computers because we're sitting there with a page and a blinking cursor and social media to distract us and all the rest of it. This is one pure way to rip yourself away from that and then go and think your way through it as a writer without having to worry about, all of the lens that comes with being at the computer, all of the distraction that comes with social media that's running in the background, all of the horror of a blank page. You can go play, come back and go, okay, now I can write. Because you get perspective. There's something very weird about working with paper that you just do not get with a screen. You get that moment to actually zoom out and go, all right, this online world feels really important. But in the scheme of things, it's not really. And that's the other beautiful thing that I found.
Oh, I know. I'm like, yes, more paper in hand, I think. So some of the words, I suppose, and the feelings that arise for me when I'm thinking about zines now are like fun, risky, refreshing, courageous, experimental, creative, unleashed, intimate, punky, political, personal, authentic, and human. Yes. And I also think also for some people it would be time suck and not for everyone because it could be all those things. But like I'm going to commit to reading more zines, not commit to it, but just I'm hoping more come my way because it was so enjoyable reading through yours. So I suppose you don't always have to create. You can also just every now and then consume. And so I get a buzz from the creativity of other people. But as a writer, for us, like it is a way for us to stand up or step out and tap into our creativity in a totally different way, which is actually really exciting. So what are some final ideas or words that you want to say about zines for all our authors and authors-to-be out there?
Just remember that it is that love letter to the author and commit to that love letter so that it feels supportive and it feels charitable and it feels warm and it feels like your safe haven away from all of the other pressure and obligation that you may place on yourself as an artist, and pressure to monetize and all of that other stuff.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing is to go and have a dig and have a look at these things. If you look at the history of punk, there's a rich connection between zines and punk. There's a rich connection between zines and skate stuff. So if you could go and get, books on the history of skating, if you go and get books on the history of punk, you'll find it. And also do have a look at Microcosm Publishing, which is out of Portland, Oregon, because they have a long connection to using zines to help people with mental health as part of their titles, and produce heaps of books on the history of zines and how to make zines and stuff like that, which makes it really accessible to people and also makes it accessible to people with disabilities and stuff like that as well, because it is a visual medium. And just enjoy it, right? There's no right or wrong. Get some girls around to have a bottle of wine and cut out your magazines and make fun of all of the messages about how beautiful you have to look at 50 now.
Yeah.
And fuck around and find out,
Yeah. Oh, so fun. Well, Rebekah Lambert, where can people find you if they want to know more?
Sure. My website is unashamedlycreative.com.au, or you can find out about the Freelance Jungle at freelancejungle.com.au. And just look for the Freelance Jungle on Facebook and on Patreon, and you'll find it there.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for sharing your little zine journey with us, and for all you do for freelance writers, advocating for everyone in that space. And happy creating to all you authors out there. Thank you for joining Rebekah and I today, and we'll catch you next time.
Thanks so much, everyone. Thanks for listening. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Rebekah.
You've been listening to the production and distribution stream of the Self-Publishing with ALLi podcast with Anna Featherstone. This Self-Publishing with ALLi podcast is sponsored by Book Vault. Sell high-quality print-on-demand books directly to readers worldwide and earn maximum royalties selling directly. Automate fulfillment and create stunning special editions with Book Vault Bespoke. Visit bookvault.app today for an instant quote. This podcast is also sponsored by Gatekeeper Press, the all-inclusive gold standard in publishing, offering authors 100% rights, royalties, satisfaction, and worldwide distribution. Gatekeeper Press, where authors are family. And if you haven't already, we invite you to join our organization and become a self-publishing ally. You can do that at allianceindependentauthors.org.